Hello, my fellow Americans. This is Bill Lipinski. This is Two Guys on Politics. And the next voice you will hear is the #1 political pundit in America, Mr. Ray Hanania.
And I want to say that while I don't always agree with Bill, he's probably the nicest guy, the best congressman I've ever met. And I think that if people would listen to him, I think that we'd have a better world. I'm just conveying the civility, Bill, that I saw last night in the debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. I am Ray Hanania. This is Two Guys on Politics. It's October 2nd, 2024, Season 3, Episode 30. Bill, what did you think of the debate? There were too many. They were just too nice. What's going on? What's happening?
I tell you, Ray, you always allow me to go first in regards to these situations.
Then I steal your your topics.
I want you to go first today.
All right. Here's what I thought. I watched the debate. I was shocked by the civility. And we've been for the last 8, maybe 12 years, a downslide in name calling, partisan attacks. Once the media has been divided, where they say we're going to fact check you, but they don't fact check themselves. But last night we saw two guys who actually talked about issues. Didn't have to agree with them, but they were polite. They were respectful. They recognized how important the debate was, which is the old American, strength that we used to have, where we would fight in lock horns in an election, and then whoever won, and we would stand together. Those two guys, I thought, did a decent job. Now, just between them, however, I thought J.D. Vance was a little bit more on his toes on the issues. I thought Tim Walz was sometimes a little, not lost, but I think he kept trying to grab the more slogans and themes rather than addressing an issue. I think he kind of leaned back to the politics a little bit more. I think J.D. Vance was off-putting because if I were debating J.D. Vance, the worst thing for you would be to him to say, "Oh, that's a good point. I don't agree with it, though." It takes away your thunder. And I think he used that civility to his advantage. And he certainly didn't come across as the crazy right-wing fanatic behind 2025, the 2025 plan or whatever it is that the media is painting him out to be. And I thought Americans saw a much smarter, calmer person.
I certainly agree with everything you've said thus far. Do you want to continue, or shall I jump in here now?
Yeah, no, jump in. Yeah.
First of all, I want to say that you hear my dog barking in the background because she supports Pluto for president. She's upset that you will not allow her on the podcast. So
yes,
she will continue to campaign to get on, but we're not going to allow it.
Yeah, there's still censorship in America today, unfortunately. But go ahead.
I thought the debate was much, much better than the presidential debate because, as you have emphasized, they were both very civil, no question about that. They discussed issues. They didn't attack one another. It wasn't a personal vendetta on the part of either one of the two of them. I thought Vance did a superb job. He came across as being down to earth, understanding, tolerant, smooth speaking. And I have to say, I have a column that's out at the present time attacking former Senator Vance, because I said he changed his spots too often in regards to, what he believed, what he didn't believe, and also the fact that he called Trump the American Hitler at one time.
When he was running, or right before? You're right.
Before he was running. Before he started sucking up to Trump when he ran for the U.S. Senate and to get this job as vice president. But I don't know. I didn't hear him make those statements. So maybe it was the news media. The things that I have read about him in the news media certainly did not seem to be the same person I saw in that debate last night. That man was reasonable. tolerant, understanding. I've already said all of those things. I'm repeating myself, but I was very much impressed with him. Now, as far as the governor, I thought the governor was nervous. I thought he tried to be as honest as possible. I mean, neither one of these people, nor have I ever seen anyone in a debate that has ever answered every question,
Right.
correctly, truthfully, and that's understandable, particularly when you get the conservative candidates, because the people who are the moderators of all of these debates always seem like they are on the left side of the political horizon. And the questions they ask the more conservative person is much tougher than they ask the more liberal person. And they also follow up on the conservative candidate. And even when the conservative candidate is right, and everybody knows he's right, they still don't want him talking about it because it destroys their image of being objective. But I enjoyed the debate. I thought they hit on many, many issues that were important. They didn't talk anything about the Ukraine, which I find hard to believe, considering how long we've been involved over there. I thought what they said about the Middle East was very superficial. I mean, we have this war going on between the Ukrainians and the Russians, which we are pouring money into, we are pouring material into. We have this war going on in the Middle East, and it's a war. And whose money is being spent? Our money is being spent on the tanks, the guns, the bullets. I mean, we are funding 2 different wars on this planet, much more than anybody else is. I simply hope and pray that we're not going to be running out of, munitions to defend ourselves if it ever comes to pass. Now, I've said time after time, I support the Israelis, but I've also said time after time that Bibi Netanyahu, many, many months ago, went far too far. And the only entity that can do anything about it, really, is the United States of America. And I didn't mean to slide off into that, but I thought that those 2 areas should have been debated much more in the debate between the vice presidents last night. I also would like to say that I wish these 2 candidates were candidates for president of the United States.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say that. Go ahead.
I think that they would represent this country much better than the 2 individuals we do have running for president. Because the 2 individuals we have running for president, I really believe, I won't say it will happen, but I think because of the way they are, I think Trump could be a fascist dictator. I think that she could be a socialist dictator. That's why my position has continued to be, I can't support either one of them. I just hope and pray that at least one house of Congress will be in the hands of the opposite party to stop these candidates from trying to pass legislation that is far outside of the American mainstream. But I thought the debate, I wish more Americans would have watched it because I think they could have learned things. I think it could have helped turn us back to a much more calm, peaceful time where people were not always attacking on a personal level.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said also. The one thing I was going to point out is it's true, J.D. Vance criticized Trump harshly many times during past elections, but then so did Harris when she was running for president. How many times did she criticize Biden and the lead candidates, saying terrible things about them, horrible things? The difference, though, is the news media is the cancer in our society today. It picks and chooses what it wants to report and what it doesn't want to touch. I thought the only thing that was annoying about the debate wasn't J.D. Vance or Tim Walz, Governor Walz, but the way the questions were asked. It appeared not as strong, but in a subtle way, that they were kind of pushing on J.D. Vance more than they were pushing on Walz. Walz almost seemed a little bit like he had a little Bidenitis there, not bad, but just a touch of it. And I think they were afraid to push him hard enough. One of the issues that I thought could have been probed much more detail was the abortion issue. I thought both of them staked out their positions, but I felt that Walz never really answered the question about where would the limit be on abortion? 3 months, the first trimester, the health of the mother, rape and incest. Those are the things that I believe in. I think abortion should be allowed. And J.D. Vance, I think he made the mistake by not saying that abortion should not be a form of birth control. So I thought that that issue was like a landmine. But the more I talk with people and the more emails I get from people, I'm seeing, and especially from women, I don't think that abortion issue is as big as the media is claiming it is. They're claiming 90% of the women are going to rally around this issue of abortion. I don't believe that's the case. I think it's a big issue. The bigger issue to me is crime. And I think that J.D. Vance did a pretty good job of addressing it. I thought Walz, again, also was pretty good, but he stopped short on some of those issues that I thought he really needed to explain better. And the hosts, the two media hosts for the debate, never really pushed him far enough to force him to answer any of the questions.
No, I agree. And I think that the governor looked like he was totally and completely bewildered when they asked him the question about Tenement Square. Now, he should have known that that was coming up because he said that he was there, and there have been countless news media reports refuting that. And he just fumbled and bumbled entirely on that. He also looked much older than his actual age.
Yeah, he did.
I was upset when he talked about Trump being 81 years of age. When Biden was the Democratic candidate, there was no problem with age whatsoever.
Right.
It ain't how old he was, okay? He was on the ball. He was sharp.
Right.
There's a lot of hypocrisy between the two of them. The reason that he cannot answer the abortion question is because the Democratic Party's position is, abortion on demand. Whenever a woman wants an abortion, she should be able to get an abortion. And the American public is not anywhere close to that. They want certain restrictions on abortion. On the other hand, Vance, when he was asked about what I will call the
insurrection,
right? He evaded that question. He did it very, very well, but nevertheless, he did evade it. Bell, I told you, no, we're not going to have you on. Pluto is not a candidate.
Tell your dog I'm voting for the third party candidate anyway, Dr. Jill Stein. That's where my vote's going, and I don't care.
She just walked away in disgust because we won't leave her on.
No, so I think you were making a good point about how J.D. Vance didn't address. I think those are the two crucial issues that each side screwed up on. J.D. Vance never really wanted to answer the allegations of the insurrection. Governor Walz did want to answer the specifics about abortion. They both understand that if they were to answer it, it would make them look bad, because I think you're right. The majority of women do not want abortion as birth control, but they want abortion to be a consistent policy across the country. And but I don't think Walsh could get into that issue very much. J.D. Vance couldn't get into he did say that, he gave the typical defense of Trump, that Trump never said, go hurt anybody, go kill anybody. But yeah, Trump doesn't believe that he lost the election. And although my opinion is, listen, censorship, I can't remember who brought it up, but censorship is the biggest problem we have in this country today. If someone doesn't like your opinion or what you believe, they want to cast you, they want to tar and feather you and call you some type of anti-American person because you don't believe their version of what happened. And I think that this censorship has gone too far, where you can't express your opinion without being bullied personally. The nicest thing, and my last comment on this is, the nicest thing about the debate was each side was able to present their views, and we could hear some of the details of what they believed. The focus was on the issues more than it was on the personality. And I think the media, though, would prefer to have it on the personality because that's easier to sell than the issues.
I agree totally and completely with you. If I didn't say so before, I want to say so now. I wish that these two were the individuals that were running for president rather than running simply for vice president. I do not believe this debate, even though I think it favored Vance, is going to do anything to change the results of this election. Now, you and I disagree on where this election is at. I believe Harris is leading, and I believe that Harris is going to win, simply because Donald Trump's personality has turned off so many people. And even though they may agree with him on a number of issues, they cannot get over his personality. Now it's time for you to do your commercial, your candidate.
No, well, listen, it's a balance between the two problems. They both have problems. Trump's is a personality problem. He just can't shut up on some stupid patting himself on the back and these ridiculous claims, and he gets stuck on a petty issue. He gets segued. He can't focus on the issues. But then on the other hand, Harris is just the opposite. She doesn't talk about any issues. She doesn't give us any thought of what are her plans to stop crime. What are her plans on the border? I think that was another issue that hurt Walz, the border issue and the migrants. Walz did this great job about how naming all these women and people who were killed because or died because of or hassles that they had to go through because they couldn't get their abortions. I think the equivalent would have been Vance making a list of all the Americans who have been killed by illegal immigrants and migrants who have been brought into this country and given money, given benefits, given almost equality by breaking the law to come into this country. So those issues still, I think, regardless of how either side is, if you believe that crime is the big issue, you're going to vote for Trump. If you believe that abortion is the big issue, then you're going to vote for Harris. I think that you're right. It's the debate last night isn't going to make much of a difference in terms of turning people's attitudes. But I think it is going to come down to, I think the most important thing is crime. And whether I like Trump or not, he's probably going to be better at addressing crime than Harris will.
Well, I think the biggest issue is immigration. I think that it is absolutely disgusting what the Biden administration has allowed to occur in the first 3.5 years. And they try to escape blame for it by saying there was this bill that they supported that Trump sabotaged. Well, why did it take them 3.5 years to come up with the bill? All right. I'd like that question to be answered. I'd also like the question to be answered of why did the governor take 53 trips to communist China? No one in this country seems to be concerned about that other than me. I guess it's when I was young, I remember sitting there fighting Joe McCarthy, try to save our country from communism. I still have that aversion to communism that was burned into me by Joe's great crusade back in the 1940s and early 50s.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was going to say that one of the other issues I thought was the point that J.D. Vance made that I thought was really much more significant than he even made it out to be. Harris was part of the Biden administration. It's been 4 years. All these things that she says she's going to do, Biden could have done with her. She could have fought for those things. She was the vice president. She can't hide behind the fact that the vice president has no power and say, well, I wasn't the president. You were part of the administration. All these great ideas. Why didn't you make that happen before? And I think that does hurt her, that none of these things that they talk about were implemented. And I think that they are to blame for the border being worse today. And they can't blame everything on Trump, even the economy. It's been 4 years. Why is the economy still bad? Because of Trump from 4 years ago? I just, there are too many things that bother me. And I consider illegal immigration part of my feeling about crime. When I say crime's a big issue, I include illegal immigration in that.
I just, no matter what happens in November, I just hope and pray that we manage to survive another rocky 4 years in this country, because it will be a rocky 4 years in this country, no matter who wins, no matter who controls Congress. That unfortunately is going to be the case. So I hope that 4 years from now, both parties put up outstanding candidates that we can be totally and completely proud of, not necessarily agree with all of them on every issue, but at least be proud of them. I cannot be proud of either one of these two candidates for president at the present time.
And I know Jill Stein, Dr. Jill Stein, isn't going to win the election. I know that. But if she gets 5%, 4 years from now, her party could be treated as a major party. And instead of having these media selected debates that we've been seeing to suit their agenda, we might actually have an open debate. Maybe she has some good ideas. Maybe she doesn't have some good ideas. But the point is, we need to stop censoring who we are allowed to listen to lead our country. Anyway, I think we did a good job, Bill. I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski.
And that I was going to mention your dog. What's your dog's name?
Bella. She knows we're going off the air, and she's making one last ditch attempt to get on to support Pluto.
She's really pushing hard, like all good protesters would. Absolutely. All right. Anyway, we will talk to all of you next week, on a week from Thursday. We did this one early today, Wednesday, because we wanted to do it right after the debate, and we missed last week because both of us had commitments we had to take care of. So we will talk to you a week from Thursday again after this, and we hope you listen. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.